Hi, today in this episode, I will go back to my quick trip to India and arrival in the Palam airport on the early morning of like 7 o'clock in the customs. And what had happened was that I had not completed 1 year stay in the US, had, according to some rule of customs, attracted a huge fine to the tune of 25,000 rupees for the Minolta SRT 101 camera I was carrying. I told very plainly that I was going back by third week of August and I had no money whatsoever to pay the duty to import the camera into the country. So alternatively, an official suggested that I can leave my camera in the so-called customs warehouse by paying a fee of 250 rupees, and the camera will be theoretically safe in that customs warehouse. And when I am going back, I need to pay the 250 rupees warehouse charge and repossess the camera and take it back to USA. Well, that was the only alternative I had before me. I agreed to it and I was given a simple receipt, with a rubber stamp on it and a signature with the camera's body number and so on and so forth. So the next job was to get out of the airport. And by 8 o'clock, I was in the bus station in the Palam airport. I took a bus to Connaught Place. Bus chugged through the streets and stop signs. And finally, I got off at a point from where I could see the Madras Hotel, my usual place of stay whenever I was in Delhi. And in fact, I had some dollars, that's all, but I did not want to spend the dollars. And I told this guy who was in the front desk that I will pay the advance, after I come back after a visit to the Central and New Delhi station to buy a ticket. He agreed for that proposition. So I went in, checked into the room, and had a shower, quick shower, and breakfast. And finally, I fetched or collected the 4 rolls of Kodak negative film with the 32 exposures and 6 or 7 cassettes in a bag, and walked down the stairs to the street and then made a circle in the Connaught Circus, in the Connaught Place rather. I was walking through the, and watching the signs there. I saw some of the studios appearing and I walked into one of the studios. It was around 9 o'clock. They are open by 8:30. And I just, looked at this guy. He said, "Good morning, come on in." Yes, out like that. I said, I'm not there to take a picture of me or buy something. Instead, I want to sell some Kodak films. Will you be interested? He said, "Okay, let me see." And then I took all those 4 rolls of film out of my bag, and he checked it and then asked me, what would you want? How much money you want for this? I said, maybe 1,000 rupees. Well, that is too much, 250 rupees per piece. That will not be possible because I can sell it only for 300 rupees. Why don't you take 200 rupees per roll? I said, fine. So he took the 4 rolls and then gave me 800 rupees. That was great. because I am rich with Indian rupees now. Then the next quest was to go to some kind of a cassette shop and sell the 6 or 7 cassettes, blank cassettes that I have. So I located a shop, not in the Connaught Place, but in nearby road. And there I was given something like 30 rupees for 6 cassettes, 200 rupees total. So 1,000 rupees, I had enough money to go to Trivandrum. Then the next thing I had to do was make a walk to the New Delhi Central Station and look up the option for the trains heading to Madras Central. Then I had no options because I wanted to go home early. I did not want to waste time in Delhi. So I purchased a ticket without any reservation in the New Delhi Madras Janata Express. And one advantage is there will be definitely 3 or 4 unreserved coaches. And there will be also some military personnel traveling by the unreserved coach. Because if you travel in a coach with military personnel, there is an added security in the sense that the unreserved coaches are always very busy with people, and there will be a lot of people boarding and deboarding or disembarking from this coach at every junction wherever the train stops. So I just got the ticket anyway, and the train was around leaving New Delhi station at 4 o'clock in the evening. So I had enough time. I went back to Madras hotel. I paid my dues and had a lunch and took rest for a while. And then I packed my bags. It's not a very heavy luggage, then I walked to the central New Delhi station because I had plenty of time before me. So by 3 o'clock I was in the station and identified the platform and went over to the platform. I got into the train and the train shall we say steamed off? Yeah, train steamed off, though it is a diesel engine. Then it is actually 4 o'clock in the morning of my first day, 1st June, first day for a day in India. Then on the third morning, the train reached Madras. And I had a comfortable trip, though I did not have any reservation or it's a unreserved coach. I could sleep and I could take rest, and it was safe and secure. All my belongings were safe, and especially my ticket, etc., money, passport, so on and so forth. Because you have to be very careful about the passport and the money and the air ticket. These are the costliest things, very essential things for the journey. So what happens in Madras is also an interesting story. I got around 9 o'clock or 9 or 10 or thereabout, the Janata Express reached the Madras Central. And then I grabbed my luggage, rushed out, and there is no customs or any check there. I am in India, and caught an auto rickshaw, and then went to Egmore. And in Egmore, the first thing I did was to check into the People's Lodge, opposite of what is called the Egmore Station. Egmore Junction, actually, those days. And then I dumped the luggage and I told the front desk that I will be right back. I'm going to the station to buy a ticket to Trivandrum. Those fellows knew me very well because they have seen me so infrequently, at least, many times. And I went to the booking window, purchased a ticket for the evening train that will reach on the same day. On the third evening, 7 o'clock, there is a train going to Trivandrum Central. So I got a ticket, no reservation whatsoever. Again, I had to travel by the what is called the unreserved coach. Well, then I got the ticket, came back, and freshened up. And this guy in the front desk had told me that if I were going by the same evening, there is no need to pay a whole rent of the room. Instead, I need to pay only 15 rupees. I can take rest, but etc. And for that 15 rupees, that was a welcome suggestion. So by about 6 o'clock, I walked over to the station with my baggage and boarded the train, the unreserved compartment, and squeezed into the space available, securely keeping my bag and all the valuable stuff in a very secure way, secure manner. All the valuable stuff was in my own body itself, in different pockets. Then the train, chugged through the night. I slept. I had a nap or slept. Not a very deep sleep, but sort of taking rest. And it takes roughly 22 hours to reach Trivandrum those days because it is a meter gauge train. There is no electrification. There is no what is called no diesel hauling either. It is 1973. That's the reason we were. Everything was backward in our country, not modern, or let us say, not backward but not modern. Then around 5 o'clock, I got into the Trivandrum Central Station. The train got into the station. And then I pulled my baggage and then took a bus to Shastamangalam, my home. Around 6 o'clock, I was at home. And there I had a reunion with my son Harry Kuttan, who had just turned 3 years of age. And I had written to home saying that I will be there at home and roughly around fourth evening or fifth evening. And so they were ready to see me and receive me. I did write to my parents also about my arrival. And then of course, had some intimate conversation with this little kid about what I was doing, what he was doing, and how was things going on around him, because Geeta, my wife, was not at home. She was doing MD in the Calicut University, Calicut Medical College, and I had written to her also that I will be coming back for a summer vacation at Trivandrum. Then the next night went off very peacefully, and the next day, after breakfast, I told Hari that I am going to see my dad or his grandpa at Ambalamukka. I proceeded. I took a bus from Sastamangalam to Villambalam and from Villambalam to Ambalamukka, and then I went to my home. There, of course, my parents were eagerly waiting to see me, and also my brother also was there, Kochet, and his children. And then, in fact, it was a very pleasant surprise for them. And even though they were aged, they were keeping fairly good health. Not many chronic illnesses anyway. If you had a chronic illness, at the old age, your life could be miserable between, your trips to the doctor's office and back home and a medical store and things of that sort. So they did not have any kind of chronic illness. They were living fairly comfortably, well appropriate to that age. Then I had some lunch there, and then I came back to Shastamangalam. The next plan was how to plan a trip to Kozhikode to see Geeta. And what I did, the next day, maybe on a Friday evening, I took a train, and I also thought I will take Hari also along. And I had his medicines, like for example fever or diarrhea, etc. All those prescriptions already available at home, and took all those things and packed off. Those days the trip from Trivandrum to Ernakulam takes a whole night, roughly, almost a night, full night. And it is a meter gauge up to Ernakulam South. And there I have to change to the broad gauge to catch a train further toward Mangalore or Kozhikode. So in the morning we reached there, and then there was a train around 7 o'clock. And we got into that train. It was not a crowded train at all, because it is a day train. And of course, Ari had to be fed, biscuits and what is called a coffee in the train. That's all. And I too had some biscuits and coffee. By 2 o'clock, we reached Kozhikode. And from Kozhikode, the next thing was to get an auto rickshaw and go to Alakapuri Hotels Limited. Alakapuri, we checked into a suite. And from there, I called Geeta to her hostel and told that we are in Alakapuri, why don't you come over? Within another hour or so, Geeta came over with her bag and to Alakapuri. And in the evening, or late in the evening, I knew that late Mr. P.C. George was stationed in Kozhikode as the geologist in charge of the office, of the regional office of the Directorate of Geology. And I wanted to locate him. That next day was a Sunday, so very hopefully he will be home and his family will be home. So what I did, in the early morning, I walked over to the Chalapuram office of Geology Directorate. I met a security staff, or a night watcher, so to speak, those days, and asked him where is the location of the geologist's house. He said, sir, it is very close, behind this building. Look at this 2-story reptile building. Oh yeah, he is there. Geologist is there, like the geologist who was in charge, Mr. Gopalakrishnan Nair, years ago. Then, of course, I knocked into the gate of that bungalow, and then I said, I am looking for Mr. P.C. George. He's my classmate. And then, classmate in BSc and a student in the MSc class. Well, anyway, that person, that elderly woman, she rang a bell, and P.C. George came down. And he was stunned and surprised to see me, because he thought I was in the United States. And he said, hey, Vikraman, come on up. So I went up, had a cup of coffee. I met his family, Valsa, and his son. And then I told, I am in what is called Alakapuri for 2 days before we are departing to Trivandrum. So then by afternoon, Hari had, even in the morning, Hari was granting some temperature. Geeta gave some medicine that I carried. And then he had the problem of diarrhea. Children will always catch diarrhea while they are traveling. In other words, that is part of the problem of children when they are on long hauls. So a medicine was given that I had carried. And then Geeta said it is better if we give him some barley soup. So how do you get barley soup in Kozhikode Alakapuri Hotel? I went back to George and said, George, this is what I need, your help in getting some barley water. Then he said, don't worry, you go back to the Alakapuri to your suit. We will be there in another 2 hours with barley soup. So after another 2 hours, very good friend of mine was P.C. George. We had a lot of fun during our MSc days, his MSc days and my what is called BSc, our BSc days. And then George came in with, and family came in with the soup. And Hari was getting better. And the next day, I think Monday morning, we took a train back to Ernakulam, and from Ernakulam, another train to Thrivananthapuram, reaching Thrivananthapuram on Tuesday early morning. So that is what happened. How the what is called the quick trip to India and home went down initially in the first week. I will come with the rest of the story in another episode. Okay, thank you.